Thank you so much, you guys, for tuning in and joining me here at Anime Los Angeles 2024.
I am here with Edward Bosco. Hi, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
I am here with the radio demon himself.
It is true.
How's Anime Los Angeles been for you?
Anime Los Angeles has been phenomenal. It's my, I want to say, third or fourth time here. I initially was over at the Marriott by LAX, and then I moved to Ontario, and then I took a couple of years off. And it's just good to be back.
So you've attended the one at ALX?
Yeah, I was actually a guest there. So I've been a guest at a couple of different times when it's bounced around the LA area, we'll call it. And it's just really cool to be back in Long Beach and see the ocean again. And it's just a really nice venue.
Which brings me to exactly our topic for this interview, with your experience and journey really in the pilot of the Hazbin Hotel. It's been roughly 5 years since the broadcasting of that pilot. Revisiting your time there on the pilot, can you talk about your experience voicing everyone's favorite radio demon, ALASTOR?
Well, it was a blast. I was initially a college student that studied in broadcast journalism, so I did a lot of TV and radio, so radio was already kind of in my blood. I had my own radio station on the college news station, so I had familiarity with doing radio stuff. The fact that then he was like a 1930s, 1940s newscaster was just really fun, because that's not something I get to pull out of the tool bag very often. And it was a real meeting of the minds for me and ALASTOR, because we had that similar background. And then he was from New Orleans, and I have some friends from New Orleans. So it just really worked out. I didn't initially think that I was going to get ALASTOR. I thought I had a better shot at like Husk or Angel Dust. ALASTOR was not the one that I thought I was actually going to end up being able to portray, and it turned out to be the best choice. So Viv was right on top of it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, you were not. Were you the singing voice of ALASTOR?
I wasn't, so I have to give all the credit to Black Griffin, aka Gabriel Brown, who did the singing in the pilot, and then we also did a song together called Radio Play, where we both got to sing as ALASTOR, which was really cool.
How was that?
It was a blast. Silverhound did the music for that, and I never considered myself much of a singer, so that was my first attempt at really not only singing, but singing in character. People seem to like it.
As ALASTOR, nonetheless.
Yeah, exactly. And I like the song a lot. It means a lot to me because it's the first song I've ever made, really. The first song I've ever sung and put out there for people. So the fact that anybody took the time to listen to it was really, really cool.
Going back to ALASTOR in the pilot, what would you say would be the most difficult thing about voicing ALASTOR?
I think it was making sure that I stayed true to the old-timey sound and not making him sound too modern. Whether it was the way that he delivered things or the vibrato on his voice, I just wanted to make sure that I stayed true to be like, hey, he's a little bit of a fish out of water in terms of like what he knows about. So I can't do any ad-libs about like pulling out my cell phone or talking to somebody on TikTok or Twitter or any of that stuff, because he doesn't know what that is. He's been in hell for 40, 50 years. So that just making sure that I stayed true to the time period that he's from was my biggest focus.
Would you say that this character would stand out for you, because I know you voice also anime characters aside from the adult animation genre there. But would you say that ALASTOR would stand out from the rest?
I think so, because he's so unique. You don't, number one, it's the radio thing, but number two, the fact that he's an animated character and everything that we got to do was kind of created from the ground up, and it was all us rather than adhering to another, whether it's the Japanese or whether it's from a different country where they bring the show over and you have to dub it. Everything we did with Hazbin was us. Like, we were the first and the only, and people dubbed to us. So we were kind of like the standard. So I do think it stands out in that way. And then I think he's just a really unique character on top of that. Like, Viv came up with a great design. Again, the radio aspect of it. So I think there's a lot of things that make him stand out. And I think that's why most people recognize me for him, is it just, for whatever reason, it exploded.
Not to mention the fandom, because the fandom, I know
they're so great. The Hell of a Verse fandom in general, with whether it's Hell of a Boss or Hazbin, they're phenomenal.
They're anime adjacent, but I mean, the fandom is just a whole different thing here. You have as soon as before even the pilot came out, you had fan art. And then once the pilot came out, you had comic books that were made by fans.
They had merch and stuff before the show even was coming out, and it was insane. And people were buying it, and they'd never heard these characters or seen them anywhere other than in a comic or Viv drawing them on Twitter, and they were still obsessed with it.
But I think but like you said, I think it's the way the Viv designed the characters that really draw in the audience just by the character design themselves. You don't have to know the show. It's just the characters themselves, the way they were designed, it draws you in.
And she has a very distinct art style. I worked with Viv on her junior thesis project called Son of 666. And that was the first time I had ever seen her stuff before. And it was also right around the time that she did that kind of Kesha video that blew up. But from the first moment that I saw any of her artwork, I was like, wow, this stands out. I would pick this out of a lineup and be like, that's Viv.
Oh,
And
yeah,
I think that's
definitely.
really helped her because it doesn't look like anything that's currently on TV. And it's also really, really pretty. She's got a great eye for just designing characters, how they're going to look, whether it's the spidery nature of Angel Dust, the deer antlers, and the kind of hoof prints on ALASTOR. All of her characters really stand out to me, and I've always adored her art style.
And sticking on that topic, I think again, it's in a genre that is not usually, it's animation,
Right.
but for adults, you know, and it's
And we need more of it.
Exactly. You know, I'm glad to see that animation is not just for kids. It can be from, because, you know, when you think adult animation, you think Family Guy, you think The Cleveland Show, you think American Dad or stuff like
This
that.
takes it to another level.
Oh yeah, this definitely takes.
This is something you don't want the kids to watch, even though a lot of kids watch it somehow. We'll leave that alone. But yeah, I like adult animation. I like some crude humor, and I think Viv and I have similar senses of humor. So I've always really enjoyed her stuff, and I'm glad that there are now shows that can tailor to that, because all the kids that grew up on like Animaniacs and like you were talking about, all the cartoons that are kind of semi-adult or had adult jokes in them that you had to catch if you weren't a kid. This one is like, okay, you're all grown up now. You can handle these jokes, and that's all that this is.
Exactly. Yeah.
But there's also, I think there's a lot of depth and story to her characters, so that while there is that adult humor and it's going to be a little bit crass and a little bit edgy, there's still a really good story to tell. And I'm really excited to see what they do with the full-on show.
Speaking of that, yeah, the new show is coming out on the 19th of this month on Amazon, or excuse me, Prime Video, with a totally different cast. Speaking on that, in between these 5 years, were there any discussions about you returning as ALASTOR for the show? Or, I mean, what happened?
They basically decided to go with a Broadway cast for the new show, and that's kind of show business. So we had the opportunity, or at least I did, to audition for ALASTOR again and kind of show them like, hey, this is what I would do if I came back. I sent them a song sample and all that stuff, and they just went in a different direction. And that's kind of the business. If you look at cartoons over the years, you look at the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Transformers, there have been a lot of different iterations of those characters and people that have played them. So we're always going to have the pilot, and I wish the new cast, and specifically Amir with ALASTOR, nothing but the best. And I know he's going to crush it, and I look forward to seeing what he does with them.
That I can't wait to see what they have finally done with the show. Vivi, you know, I don't know if she made any changes to the show, or like, you know,
I couldn't tell you. I'm a fan now, so I'm just watching like everybody else.
So we're coming to the end of the interview, but before we go, can you give us a little taste of ALASTOR?
Absolutely, the radio demon is here, and he will always be the one OG.
Thank you so much. That was a bit-
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for watching our awesome interview with Edward Bosco. Watching and hearing his voice as ALASTOR in person is such a treat. But the fun is not over yet, you guys. Do you guys want ALASTOR to autograph? Of course you do, so listen up, because here's your chance to win a Shikishi board signed by Edward Bosco, the voice of ALASTOR himself. All you have to do in order to win is subscribe to our channel and comment your favorite Hazbin Hotel character in the comment section below and tell me why you like him. It's that simple. So what are you waiting for? One sole winner will be chosen at random to receive this autographed Shikishi board signed, once again, by Edward Bosco. The interview fun does not stop there, however. Watch our in-depth interview with cosplayer and author Kaho Shibuya as we speak about her newest book and the challenges she had to face when publishing her book in the Western world. All that and more in our awesome interview with Kaho Shibuya, so go ahead and click on your screens and I'll see you guys over there.